Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time seeing any of my videos, my name is Aleya. I like to make videos about my life here in Egypt. I have been living in Egypt now for 9 years, and I make all kinds of videos about all different things. And today's video is all about renting an apartment or a townhouse or a villa, renting a property, basically. Before I get into the details of this information, let me ask that you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and check out my channel for the other videos that I've done. Maybe there's something in there that can help you out. Yeah. Okay, so I've got 5 tips that I've written down handy on my phone. I have to have my notes here because, you know, that's just how I am. My memory is not the best, so I have to put everything in my phone. So my first tip is that you need to first decide whether or not you want to live inside or outside of the city and go over the differences between the two. So the pros of living inside of the city is that you're going to be able to find a much larger apartment for much cheaper. You also have access to a lot more transportation, and the cost of living in general inside of the city is going to be much cheaper. Now, the pros of living outside of the city is that it's going to be nicer looking. It's going to be quieter. You're going to have more of a first world experience. If you're going to be brave, you'll be brave. I would say brave. You really want to have a car and drive. You'll be able to do that much easier outside of the city than inside of the city because, quite frankly, there's not as much traffic here. Parking is much easier here. So when I moved outside of the city, I managed to get my independence back. I managed to do things on my own, and I didn't have to rely on others in order to do things like I did when I was living inside the city. It was just too much traffic for me when I was living inside the city to drive. So that is the way it is. Now, tip number 2. If you are going to rent an apartment inside of the city, I would strongly suggest that you do not take an apartment on the lower floors. Try and have something above the second floor. And just keep in mind that in Egypt, it goes ground floor, first floor, second floor, okay? The lower floors tend to have more bugs, possibly vermin, and be noisier, and also generally kind of maybe not generally, but it might not be as secure, especially if your building doesn't have doorman. So just keep that in mind. Tip number 3. If you are choosing to take an apartment outside of the city, you need to look into the differences between living in a standalone apartment or living in a compound, a gated compound. So if you are going to be living inside of a standalone building, just like in the city, you'll be able to have a much larger apartment for cheaper, okay? And just keep in mind, though, that it might not be as secure as a gated compound because, I mean, you might have a bawab there. Yeah, it's like a doorman who there watches, but it's not going to be as secure as a gated compound. Now, if you decide that you do want to rent an apartment, whether it's inside of a compound or not, inside of the city or not, you need to know that there are many apartments that are not finished. In fact, most people, when they tend to rent out the apartments, they don't finish it. They don't put the kitchen in. You will be expected to install kitchens, ACs, all of that, because if they have already got a kitchen, already got ACs, the cost of your monthly rent will be much higher. When we moved into this apartment, we had to bring the kitchen, appliances, water heaters, ACs, light fixtures, everything. We had to put everything in ourselves. Okay? Now, my final tip is that when you are setting your budget, be realistic about what you're going to get for your money, whether you're living inside of the city or outside of the city. Now, if you are living inside of the city, you can probably get a 200 square meter apartment for between £4,000 to £5,000 a month, and that might be finished or unfinished. It depends on the area. Just look around. Now, if you are going to live outside of the city in the suburbs, that's when your prices are going to go up. So you can probably find a 200 square meter apartment for between £5,000 to £6,000 unfinished. That means no kitchen. And it depends. It might have a lot of other things that needs to be finished for £5,000 to £6,000 a month. Okay? Now, what if you don't want to live in a standalone? What if you want to live in a compound? Well, that's when the cost of rent is going to start to go up drastically. Now, I live in Rahab City, which is a gated city. It's a gated compound city, okay? And a 90 square meter apartment is going to be around 5,000 Egyptian pounds, and that's unfinished, meaning you will have to put the kitchen in. An apartment that is 190 square meters is going to cost around 8,000 to 9,000 pounds a month, unfinished. Now, Rahab also has townhouses and villas. Those would be like, basically homes that are not, there's no one above you or below you. A townhouse usually means it's a building that's split down the two. Those are going to cost anywhere between 15,000 to 25,000 Egyptian pounds a month. Now you notice that I'm talking about like square meters and stuff and not sizes of bedrooms. That's because you could have a 90 square meter apartment that has 2 bedrooms, but you could also have a 190 square meter apartment that has 2 bedrooms. It's about square meter. In Egypt, they don't go by price of bedroom, they go by price of like per square meter. So keep that in mind. Now there are different levels of compounds if you're choosing to live inside of a compound, okay? So Rahab is okay, but it's not like the highest quality, and that's why the rent tends to be a little bit cheaper here. There are other compounds like Park View, East Town, Midtown, Mountain View, El Patio. El Patio is really nice. Where you can get a really, really nice apartment, but they're going to be much more expensive. So definitely look into those costs of those apartments. You're looking at an apartment in those really, really nicer apartments. You're looking for something around 100 square meters, starting at a minimum of 10,000 pounds a month, if not more. I'm sure it's much more by this point. And townhouses and villas in those nicer compounds are going to start at around 25,000 pounds a month minimum. But you need to look into it and do your research, My final tip is that I want you to use Property Finder Egypt. Okay, you can Google that, Property Finder Egypt. This is going to give you a really good ballpark average of what you can look for when it comes to renting, and it's a really helpful website. It also gives you access to lots of realtors that you can get in contact with to help find a place to rent. Well, I hope that this video has been helpful for you. I hope everybody's having a great Ramadan. We've only got about 4 days left, and then the Eid. Woohoo! Also, I'm going to get vaccinated on Monday. Woohoo! My first dose, and I'm going to vlog that for you. I've heard a lot of people, a friend of mine who took his the day before yesterday told me that he had serious symptoms after the first dose. So I am not looking forward to that, and apparently this is how I'm going to spend the first day of the Eid, is not feeling well. But it's all good to get vaccinated and be safe. Well, thank you guys so much, as always, for watching. If you need more specific questions answered, you can definitely reach out to me at my Instagram, at alaya.hassan. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Okay? Thanks. Bye-bye.